Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Happy Labor Day on this Monday evening. We are less than a week away from the Dolphins' first game, finally, as they prepare Sunday to face the Indianapolis Colts. It's a new season, so that means new expectations and predictions for your Miami Dolphins in the 2025 season. We're going to have a season preview. And we have a special guest joining us. I know Jason's really excited about this. No one better than do it than former Dolphins great wide receiver and first-round pick, O.J. McDuffie. Some people like to call him Juice. O.J. McDuffie's going to be joining us today. We appreciate that. Thank you, everybody who's joining us on YouTube. Make sure you drop that like button and hit that subscribe button for us. Jason, this should be fun. I know you're pumped as I am about having O.J. on.
Always great to talk to OJ, one of the best and toughest players to ever wear the aqua and orange. And, of course, I got my Fishtank orange on to represent him and his co-host, Seth Levitt.
Yes.
They do awesome work on the Fishtank. And let's bring OJ up. Let's talk about the two.
Yeah, nobody wants to see our face. Let's bring up the good-looking one of us three here. Mr. O.J. McDuffie. Juice, what's up, brother? Thank you for joining us.
Fellas, what's up? Happy holiday, fellas. Happy holidays.
Likewise to you, sir. Thank you for joining on this Labor Day.
No doubt, man. That's what it's all about. It's football season, man. Pumped. You guys got to be pumped as well, for sure.
Yeah, we're less than a week away, like we said here. Dolphins named their team captains today. No surprises. Tyreek wasn't among them. But let's kind of get into the season here in the nitty-gritty. I want to start off with this. We're going to jump into the season preview here. No waiting. We usually like to tease, but we're going to go straight into it. I will start with you, OJ. Did the Dolphins, in your opinion, upgrade or take a step back this offseason?
They upgraded, in my opinion. I think they addressed some of the things that were talked about a lot last year. One of them being toughness. I thought they did a great job in the preseason, scheduling, going to Chicago, scheduling, going to Detroit. I thought those are great ideas to go there and test their toughness against the NFC North. Those teams are always physical. They're always tough. And we wanted to test our mettle, and I thought they did a good job. First signs of those joint practices look like we're getting our butts beat. Then it seemed like we figured it out a little bit along the way, and we end up obviously going 2-1 in the preseason. The final score doesn't matter, but I thought like when you look at the games, I thought when our ones played, we played well against their ones, and so on and so forth. So I thought that was the thing that we really need to address. So when you look at the team, when you go out there and you go out there and you get a guy like, Jonas Salvanaya,
Jonah S.
And James Daniels, you're addressing that guard position right away on toughness right now. We already know Aaron Brewer's tough. We know that Patrick Paul is tough. And, we also know that we struggled running the football without Austin Jackson last year. So now you get him back. So I think that they addressed that part of it. Of course, you always want to have more depth, when it comes to a team, no matter what at that position. But talking about physicality, I think that's a physical group right there that can go out there and do some things. Now we already had Devon Achane as our running back. We know that he's not the biggest guy out there, but then you go out there, we bring Jalen Wright back, who's banged up right now. But you go out and get Madison, and then you draft Ollie Gordon as well. So we're talking about a physical type of football that these guys are trying to get to. And I think that was really, really, one of the things that we really had to do. We get the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 last year. We're in shotgun or pistol or whatever it might be. And, we're trying to do bells and, tricks and stuff like that. I think now we've got a group up front and we got some running backs that we need 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. We can go and get it the conventional way by pounding somebody. Now you go to the other side of football. I mean, Kenneth Grant. I mean, you look at somebody that you want playing, on the same defensive line as Paul Soliai. I mean, come on, man. You couldn't ask for a better player in the draft. I'm glad he's away from Michigan and not playing against Penn State anymore. That helps me a lot. I sleep better at night knowing we don't have to play against that guy. And then you look at, Jordan Phillips, another Big Ten guy in Maryland. I'm glad he's not in our conference anymore as well. But big, just nasty guys that play alongside a guy like Zach. And I think that they address those things. Our linebackers played great last year. Now we got the big uglies in front of them to do their job. And it should be a lot more physical with football team. And I think that's what we lack more than anything.
Yeah. Quickly, just I think you made some great points, OJ. And I've said this, publicly and privately. There's a lot. I'm kind of confused how I feel about this team, kind of record-wise and success. There's a lot of variables that I think I got to see first. But what I will say is what I'm encouraged, whether they took a step back or a little forward talent-wise, is they settled down. I think they ran the organization this offseason the right way, like a good organization runs it. They didn't give away draft picks. They didn't spend big money. Looks like they had a really good draft from top to bottom. And you mentioned, OJ, they got younger, and they did it on physical at the line of scrimmage. So that gives me hope. I think this season, regardless of what happens, right? Obviously, we won a winning season. I have hope going forward with the way they address this team this offseason, getting younger in the draft, and the way they address the physicality up front to kind of get rid of that soft label that, teams had on them.
Yeah, not only the soft label, I think we got rid of some malcontents. I thought we got rid of some guys that weren't the best locker room guys. I mean, I know we, you mentioned before, I don't know if we were on the air yet, but you mentioned our captains. All of our captains are A+ guys. Those are the guys you want leading that locker room. We've had some guys that were captains that I was like shaking my and scratching my head at, and I know that for a fact that the guys that we have as captains are true leaders, on and off the football field. And that's what you have to have, man. It really is always going to be the players' locker room. Now, who's like the guys that are running it is the question. Who's running that locker room? You got the right guys leading that locker room, because I'm going to tell you this, when you got the right guys running, the other guys that aren't captains, that aren't on that level, they're going to fall in line, man, and they'll start doing things the right way. So I'm excited about all that. But you're right, man. It's like these guys that we have that we're talking about on this football team are starting to turn, there's all that talk about culture change. You look at those captains, that's a culture change right there, right away.
Looking at one of those captains, Juice, and of course, using a fun word recently in podcast land, polarizing. Tua Tagovailoa is one of the more polarizing players, but let's talk about his importance. He missed 6 games last year. Clearly the difference in the overall Miami Dolphins offense and team. What are your thoughts on Tua going into his 6th season and your expectations?
Very high. Expectations are very high. Not only is he going into his 6th season, but what is this, his 4th year with Coach McDaniel? Those are something that he didn't have the luxury of having before. I mean, I think at the beginning of his career, Tua had, even through Alabama, had different coordinators every single year. His first couple of years here, different coordinators. Now he's in the same system with a head coach that's brilliant. And so I expect a lot from Tua. But the best ability, Sarnes, is availability. So we need him in all the games. We need him. We need 15+ games from Tua Tagovailoa, this season. And hopefully the ones that he takes off are because we've got something clinched at the end of the season. So we don't need him playing. I expect a lot from Tua. Now you think about that. What I'm just saying, like, we got the same coordinator. You got the same receivers. You got most of the same offensive line. You got a couple same running backs. There should be an uptick in what we do productive-wise as an offense. I mean, you can't go backwards having all this familiarity with system, players, everything about it. Yeah, we lose Jonnu Smith, we bring in Darren Waller. I like Waller. It could be, and we didn't find Jonnu Smith until the end of the season last year, which kind of bugged me out a little bit too. But I think that with all the guys coming back, I think it's important that we are able to not only pick up where we left off, but take it to the next level. And it's because of Tua.
In the event, God forbid, knock on wood 1,000 times, there are 1, 2, 3 games that a backup might have to play. Arguably, very improved room overall from the last several years. You got Zach Wilson paying him a lot of money to be a backup, and he drafted Quinn Ewers for a developmental, hopefully future backup for this team. What are your thoughts on the number 2 and the number 3 guys?
I like it. Look, it's hard to find a 1A or a 1B anywhere. If they were 1Bs, they'd probably be starting somewhere else. They'd be in somebody else's camp. So I like the fact that we're giving Zach Wilson another shot in the league because, obviously teams have felt that he's deserving. He's a high draft pick. And I think that, once he understands this offense, which is incredibly complicated, it's going to be fun to see if we do have to count on him to come in for a game or two, if he'll be able to go out there and run it. Now, go back to what I said earlier, though, Sarn, if it does happen to be where we have to use him for a game or two, let's get back to what we're talking about with that running game. I think we got some guys that, that will take some of the pressure off of him and make it a lot easier for him. Now, Quinn Ewers, I loved him in Texas. I really did. And I think he is really, I use this term, he's more Tua-esque than Zach Wilson is, in terms of his anticipation, seeing the throw before he makes it. I think that, the game is going to speed up so much for this kid, though. I think it's a good thing that he's going to get a chance to sit back and learn and learn how to be a pro. But great move by the Dolphins, drafting him in the 7th round. And not necessarily as competition for Tua, but Tua's, it's good to have a bunch of guys that can play that position, especially, which is the most important position in football, in sports.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody in chat. We're with OJ McDuffie, the former Dolphins great wide receiver, and one half of the Fishtank podcast. We're previewing the Dolphins season with OJ. Make sure you guys drop those likes, hit that subscribe button, help us out here, support us on the channel. OJ, agree with your point about, I think you made a great point about Quinn Ewers. Finally, they got a backup that matches some of the skill sets of their starter. So so the problem is when they bring the quarterback and they got a completely, the offense looks like night and day. At least you can maybe do some of the things. I couldn't agree with you more. But you mentioned the weapons. Let's talk about the weapons. You mentioned the running backs. We have the big physical back in Ollie Gordon. You, being a former wide receiver, know the receivers the best. How do you like the receiver room this year? Obviously, Waller will include him in the tight ends. Who's the other guy, right? You're expecting a big year out of Waddle and Hill, Tyreek to bounce back. Who's the other guy? What are your thoughts on Malik, kind of in that room?
Yeah, I think Waddle's going to be the go-to guy this year. That's what I think should happen this year. I think that the rapport that Tua and Waddle have right now has been amazing. The time that Tyreek has spent not practicing or not doing joint practice or not playing in games, I think has allowed Tua and Waddle to really develop a rapport that's second to none. And I think that Alabama love is going to help him out even more. Malik Washington is that dude, man. He really is. I love Malik Washington. I love what Malik has done as well. And you can tell that Tua has a trust with Malik. That's the key for all wide receivers, man. Quarterbacks want to be able to trust that you're going to be where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be there. And when you get an opportunity, you make plays. And that's what Malik has been showing. And that's what I love about him. His toughness is second to none. Returning kicks, returning punts, blocking. He does it all, man. So that's why I think Malik is that guy that's going to be, he's going to get his, 5 or 6 targets a game. But when he gets those 5 or 6 targets, he's probably going to have 5 or 6 catches a game too. And I think that's important. Moving the chains, making some plays here and there. So I love that. And then, look, we kept 6 receivers this year. That tells you how good that receiving core was. It's good to see Taj Washington back and his explosiveness. And I was pleasantly surprised to see how well he blocked as well. I mean, he's a hell of a football player.
For a smaller guy,
yeah, he didn't mind mixing it up a little bit, man. And D. Eskridge, he had a hell of a preseason. And then we got a big guy in Akine, So I thought they did a great job of getting a bunch of receivers in, all guys that do a lot of different things. Remember, before we were such a small group of receivers. Now you got a couple guys that have a little bit of size, a little bit of grit to them, and I just think that they're doing a great job mixing it up. As long as Tua distributes the rock to all these guys or the guys that are out there, I doubt all 6 will dress every game. There'll probably 4 of them dressing every game, but at least we know we can trust these guys when they get in a football game that they're going to be able to go out there and make plays for us.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the changing of the guards here from Hill to Waddle. What do you think of Tyreek finally first time not being a captain, and the kind of the whole, I don't want to call it tension between Tua and Tyreek, and how do you feel? Because Tua, I like what Tua said this offseason. I think you see his confidence, you see him, he's becoming more of a leader. This is clearly his team. What are your thoughts on, Tyreek not being captain, kind of how Tua's handled that whole situation?
Yeah, well, being a captain is earned, man. You earn being a captain on a football team. And everything that you do, not just, making plays, everything you do gets you that title. And you can tell that they didn't appoint captains. They went out and they got the guys that do things the right way on and off the football field. So Tyreek's had his struggles on and off the field, He's had his struggles, with whatever's going on in that locker room. But I think they got it right by not just giving him that title because he is Tyreek Hill. And that's got to sting. If I'm Tyreek Hill, I'm a little pissed off. But then I got to look in the mirror and say, okay, that's probably right because of the way I was. You can't be a captain. You can't be a part-time captain. When you're a captain all the time on a football team or anything you're doing. You can't be a part-time boss, whatever it might be. So Tyreek not being named captain, I thought it was the right thing. When the captain's list came out, I was pleasantly surprised, but I was not surprised at all because those guys that they nailed down are the guys that I see that appear to be doing things the right way.
And one of those captains is the man in the middle of the offensive line, Aaron Brewer. Had a terrific year in his first year with the Dolphins. Now, just to break down the offensive line, you have the left side with second-year Patrick Paul and rookie Jonah S. And then on the right side, we got new guard James Daniels and veteran Austin Jackson. So how do you like that 1 through 5? But we do have to talk about the depth issue. What are your thoughts?
I love the 1 through 5, man. I really do. I mean, we got a little nasty in there. I like a little nastiness, and that's what we have to have. That's like I love the fact that we talked about earlier that, going to Chicago, going to Detroit, even, and I thought that Jacksonville, when they came here, they felt some of our nastiness. And Aaron Brewer, they talked about it. I think that we've got some guys that have that physicality that you have to have in this league and a physicality that you're going to need late in the season. When guys are tired and beat up and worn out, you got to run the football. I think that those guys up front, those front five are really, really special guys, and I think that you're right. Depth is always going to be an issue. Like most of the time when you've got, you're not going to have starter quality guys that are backups, or they'd be probably starting somewhere else. So you got to have some guys that are, that are serviceable guys. But if we can keep those 5 healthy and going, man, I think I love our chances of, doing very well in the run game and the pass game, pass protection. I mean, we've made some really good moves, and I got to give, Chris Breer takes a lot of heat. You got to give him some credit for putting a line together that really is the most important thing, because our biggest issue, and Sarni, you said this earlier, was Tua. Keeping Tua healthy. The best way to keep Tua healthy, get some 5 nasty guys in front of him.
Fully agree there. Quick follow-up on the offensive line. You touched on this earlier, but 3rd and short, 4th and inches, the goal line, I can't be seeing 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage to go get 5 extra. So do you think that there's going to be an absolute power component added to the motions and the finesse and the speed this year? Is that inevitable?
It has to be. It really does, Sonny. It has to be. We got to show some nastiness every once in a while. And then once we can establish that power, running between the tackles, getting that 1 yard, then we can get cute again. But until we establish that, they're going to expect cute every single time from us, and we don't need to do all that cute stuff all the time. If we can run it down people's throat, if we can stay in, 2nd and manageable, 3rd and manageable, it's going to be so much. It's going to open the playbook up so much for us. And I think that the ability to run the football, especially on, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, that's huge for us, man. I think so. I think that Mike McDaniel, who is a run game specialist, to start using that moniker and show how special his run game mind is to help us, pick up some of these crucial, third and short situations that we have.
Juice, I'm going to go a little bit back to the baseball days. I know you know a little bit about ball here. George and I like to joke around. You got to mix up a fastball with a changeup. You got to mix up those pitches. You can't just be throwing the 96-mile-an-hour heaters down the middle. So do you like that kind of analogy, and is that the kind of metaphor for the Dolphins' overall rushing attack?
Well, I think in general, man, you want to keep people off balance, and that's exactly what baseball is all about. Keeping people off balance. Pitchers want to, I don't know about our pitchers. Our pitchers throw 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, 2 and 4 seamers, but they also throw a 94-mile-an-hour changeup. I don't get it, but that's a different ball game that we're talking with these 6'5", 6'6" pitchers that we have these days. But yeah, I mean, you have to, it's all about keeping people off balance. You want people to think that you're going to run that you're going to run, and you pass when you run it. You've seen teams sometimes starting with 3rd and 10. I hate the call sometimes. They run a draw because they know that we're going to put the ball in there, and they end up with 12, 13 yards. So I'm with you, man. It's all about keeping people off balance, but also having balanced attack. So if they can do both, I think it's going to be critical. But the whole key, like I was saying, is staying in manageable down and distance. If we're sitting at 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, most of the time, we're going to convert those most of the time.
Yeah. Kind of finishing on the offensive side here. We talk about the baseball stuff because I think, let's be honest, OJ, last year the offense, even when Tua was in, they were doing a lot of underneath stuff. Teams were playing that too high shell, but teams are playing too high forever. I think we kind of overreacted. I think more of it is it's the light box and not being able to take advantage of that in the run game. That's what's gonna switch it up. Do you think that's a secret sauce here for us to get back to some big plays? Is like make them pay for those light boxes.
We got to force them to bring somebody in the box. We got to force them to bring a safety down in there, and you're right. They were able to handle our run with their front six. That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to make them bring somebody down in the box, and nobody was worried about that. No wonder Tyreek and Waddle couldn't get down the field because we couldn't run it and force them to bring somebody down in the box. You've got guys that are doubled up, and you got some one-on-ones on the inside, but the one-on-ones are short and sweet. You're going to stop in the short of the chains. So, yeah, the key to our success this year will be our ability to run the football and force them to get out of that shell defense, play with a single high safety, give our guys some one-on-ones on the outside or even in the slot, and make them respect our run game. And the way you respect the run game is not abandoning it. You have to stick to it. You're not going to hit home runs every single time, but just because you get 2 yards here, 3 yards there, don't be like, all right, well, we can't run the ball. Let's pass the ball. You got to keep pounding, man. That's a favorite thing about Joe Paterno. He's like, 2 yards, cloud of dust, 2 yards, cloud of dust. Next thing you know, you're hitting home runs. That's it. You have to stick to it. You got to wear people out. And I think we got some dogs up front that can wear some people out, especially down here. Why would you get pass happy down here when you've got the weather and the climate that if you keep running, you're going to have defensive linemen that, the tongues in their shoes are going to be coming out, You've got to keep wearing people out, man. And I think that's always going to be the key. And I'm a wide receiver saying run the ball. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of run talk right now, but I like it. I like
it. The chat's loving you, Juice. And OJ's bringing the heat tonight. OJ, it's bringing right. Let's switch over to defense, which I'm actually less concerned about the defense. I'm more concerned about the offense this year.
Yeah.
Front seven. We reported back in March. We had Benjamin Albright on. The Dolphins' priority this season was getting younger and adding to that front seven to make it their priority. And kind of, I saw it coming with the corners. If you listen to Chris and those guys, they told you corners not like they weren't going to go spend big money on corner. How good do you think this front seven is, and how I think it's the key to this team surprising people. How good do you think it can be, and how much is it to the success of this team? This front seven be pretty, top 5 in the NFL, top 10.
This front seven is going to be the key to our success this year on the defensive side of football. On the whole team, this front seven is going to be critical. I'm looking for, we're a team that didn't turn teams over very much. It's always important, either stopping drives or giving us a short field or field position, whatever it might be. I think this front seven is that special where they're going to be able to make some plays that are going to be so impactful for this football team. And that's the thing. We've got guys right now, let's keep it 100. Like what this team has to do right here is find a way to stop Josh Allen. That's what you do when you're looking at a team within your division that's been dominant the way they have. You find out what do you have to do to go out there and stop that. I think what you do is you go out there and you get yourself a defensive line and some linebackers that can contain him and that can run with him and hopefully get him to the ground. And I think that's what they've got. When you look at the guys like I talked about, Kenneth Grant, we already know what Sealer. Sealer's he's a beast. We know that what he's like. Benito Jones in the middle with Jordan Phillips might be taking over that play. I even like Biggers. I think we went in there and made some things happen. Not to mention what we've done outside. Getting Chubb back, getting Phillips back. Bringing obviously Chop. Being back. We've got so many guys.
We added Judon.
Judon, bringing Judon in. We got guys that can run, tackle, and get guys like that to the ground. So that front seven is going to be critical in protecting our back end. And not to mention, we haven't even talked about Minkah, bringing Minkah back. Minka's going to be critical, being in that box when we need him to, or being, deep safety whenever we need him to. So they've done a great job. And I think Anthony Weaver is he's the head coach of the future in the league somewhere. I think he's got a great bunch of guys that are going to be the difference makers for this football team.
You got a lot of pundits, Juice, talking negatively and really not a lot of excitement about the cornerbacks. But I see youth, potential, unproven. Doesn't necessarily mean unskilled. Storm Duck, Jack Jones, slot now specialist Jason Marshall Jr. What are your thoughts on the secondary? You mentioned Minkah, but what are your thoughts about that defensive backfield?
Yeah. Okay. Seth calls him Jam Master Jay. Jason Marshall Jr., man, I think that he's going to be something special. It's you have to have this mix of young and old when it comes to football teams, salary caps, all different things, and guys that can actually go out there and play all the time, man. I'm a big fan of Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas. I think they're underestimating that secondary, but the whole key for that secondary to be successful is for that front seven to be successful. I played against some teams, man, where the corners weren't big name corners, safeties weren't big, but their front seven was so good that the corners gave us fits because there was so much chaos in the backfield before we can get out there. We need our guys up front to take care of the guys on the back end. I think that the guys that we have will be able to do that. If we don't get the quarterback, we will be exposed, but I don't think that's going to be a problem this year.
Yeah.
Good to know with that youth. Good to know.
Yeah, Jason Marshall Jr., I think he's an X-factor player. I know Jason, to be able to, a guy who never played, I think he played like over 90% on the outside. For him to be able to come in and fill that role as a nickel year one, I think he's going to be just an X-factor.
George, he's a physical guy, man.
Yeah.
I love his size, man. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that, you got to be in. You're a linebacker nowadays in the NFL when you're playing in a nickel. You've got to take on guards. You got to take on, tight ends that are coming your way. You've got to take on guys like that. So that physicality is what's important. And plus, you got to beat up that third receiver. You got to beat the hell out of that third receiver, and run him into some more trouble. So I love the fact that he came on and that they trust that, he's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's going to be there. And that all happens, you don't get that. You don't let go of a guy like we did, to bring in Jason Marshall Jr. in that position when we went out and spent some money on a free agent, without knowing that he's going to be able to go in there and do the job. So they trust him. It's all about a trust factor in there. In the nickel position, that's a tough deal, man. Me as a slot receiver, I had so many options when I'm running routes. I see so many different things. If you got a nickel guy that can't handle that, you pull him up all day, man. So
those are those first downs. Those are those 3rd and 7s.
Right.
Man, Juice, do you ever imagine having Hill and Waddle on the outside and you in the slot? Oh.
Man, well, you know what? I love my outside guys, man.
Yeah, I know, but
I love my outside guys. They took care of me. Urban Fryer and Mark Ingram,
baby.
They took care of me, bro.
They took care of you. You still go what? Imagine, I mean, your season in '98 when you had 90? You led the league in receptions. Imagine nowadays, man. I can think of what you could do in this kind of offense.
Yeah, I did that without those guys there. They weren't even there.
Yeah.
Then, so yeah.
You mentioned Coach Weaver. Let's talk about the head coach here. There's a lot of expectations for Mike. We're going to year 4 here. What are your expectations for him? What does he have to do this year to kind of get this team over the top? And kind of how hot is his seat? Do you think Mike's really on the hot seat this year?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah. I mean, everybody's on the hot seat always, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you go to the playoffs your first 2 years. You don't go to the playoffs last year. Now you got to go to the playoffs and you got to win a game. You can't just making the playoffs isn't going to be good enough for anybody anymore. And I think our owner, Mr. Stephen Ross, feels the same way. Status quo is not good enough. I think what's been handed to him is a nice roster, man. I think he's got a nice roster to be able to go out there and make some. Hey, yeah. And sorry, I think you said it's a national pundits and they're saying this and that about this team. People got us being 4th in our division. Man, get out of here. Get out of here. Us being 4th in our division. There's no way. There's no way we're worse than the Patriots. No way we're worse than the Jets. We all know what the Bills are. You know what I mean? So they can say whatever they want. The Jets have a rookie head coach in Aaron Glenn. I love him to death, but come on, man, there's gonna be some growing pains there as well. So for Mike, we've got to find a way. Here's what I say. We've got to find a way to sweep New England, sweep the Jets, and go 500 against Buffalo. If you do that and win the home games you're supposed to win and win half your road games, you'll be where you need to be, and I think that's the key to success right there. Don't lose the games that you're supposed to win. Right now, Indianapolis is a 1.5 favorite for against. That means we're favored in my opinion. We have to go into Indianapolis and win that game, things like that. So getting off to a great start is always important. But Mike's hot seat is on Mike, whether he gets his team off to a good start, for one, and his team wins the games it's supposed to win. But at the end of the season, at the end of the day, they have to make the playoffs and have to win a playoff game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you
more.
Sure. All right, so let's have a little fun. Let's play a little game. We're gonna start with give me your. And Jason and I are gonna play too. All right, we're gonna go MVP, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, rookie of the year for the team. Juice, you're the guest. You go first. We'll start with offensive MVP. You can just name all three.
Offensive MVP has to be Tua Tagovailoa. It has to be. Your quarterback has to be your MVP on the offensive side of the football. And that's because as he goes, is how this team's going. We've seen it. That's the way this team is run. When Tua's in the game, when Tua's healthy, when Tua's playing well, the team has played well, putting up numbers. Defensive MVP, I think our defensive MVP will probably be Jordan Brooks.
Oh, he took my Juice.
I'm going Jordan Brooks as our defensive MVP. Captain, I think he's a beast of a linebacker. He plays with reckless abandon and smarts and speed and everything like that. Our rookie of the year will be Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant he won't have all the numbers, but he's going to be so impactful for this team and what he's going to be able to do to help the guys like, like Jordan Brooks and those guys out. It's going to be amazing. So those are my three in my opinion.
Jason, you want to go next? I'll go last.
I'll agree with you on Tua. I mean, that is an easy agreement because, like we saw last year, when he's out, this is not a good team offensively. He's the one that makes this team work. Defensively, as much as I love the Jordan Brooks call, and I tend to agree with you, but if I have to go a different person, the best way to win that Pittsburgh Steelers trade is to have Minkah Fitzpatrick be that defensive MVP. And I think if he could return to 85% of what we thought he was when we drafted him, that would be a good competition to have from Brooks and Minkah. And, of course, we know what Zach Sealer could do. Rookie of the year, I love the agreement there as well. Kenneth Grant's a good one, but shout out to our boy Seth the Gator. I'm going to go Jam Master Jay. Why not? I love that nickname, Seth. Good job.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think we all agree Tua. I mean, we'll throw a little love to A-Chain just to change it up. But yeah, Tua's got to be the offensive MVP. I was going to go Jordan Brooks, but to be different, I'll be different. Let's go Chop, baby. I think he has the most upside. I think, OJ, I've always said this. He has the most upside star potential on this roster, Chop Robinson.
Yeah.
Sealer, obviously, but let's have fun. Let's go Chop and defensive rookie of the year, Kenny G, man. We were big on him in the draft. He's different.
Yeah.
He's big, physical. Doesn't look like it, but it's active for a man his size. It's crazy. I've never seen a guy who looks out of shape, right? But is in as good a shape as anybody on the field. It's crazy. You as a player, that probably you probably thought the same, no?
Yeah, George. I was begging for them to get him out of the preseason games, man. I said, I've seen enough. Get him out of games. I don't want him playing anymore, man. This dude he's already proven that he's that dude. He's running down screens. He's downfield making tackles. He's all over the place, man. I'm like, no, man. This dude here is the truth, man. Great pick, impact pick. Sometimes, you look at, your first rounder, man. Some people want the flash. You want to, the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, DB, whatever. But this dude right here, his impact is going to be felt throughout the league, and I just can't wait to see him go against the guys within our division, man. So yeah, I'm with you on that, man. This dude is special, and I'm looking forward to him. Taking his college game to the next level, and it's gonna be pretty fast for him.
Yeah, shout out to the chat, man. Everybody, thank you. It's tough. A few good spots going on. You know where to be. We got OJ McDuffie. Y'all know where to be. Tom Pinch, shout out AOJ, greatest Dan Marino. Do you have any Dan stories or moments to share? You want to share anything quick on Dan? I know it's put you on the spot, but
oh man, I got a couple. I got some. Yeah. Well, you know what?
What you can say on air only.
I can say, yeah. Danny and I, always joke about us not getting along at first because he went to Pitt, I went to Penn State, and I was like, I had to let him know, Danny, we're on the same team now, bro. Let it go, man. Let it go, man. We're on the same squad right now. But I'm just saying, we got into it a couple of times. We got into it real bad in Oakland one time. I thought we was gonna fight, but he's 6'5", man. I'm only 5'10", so
who wins?
I probably whoop his ass. No, I was playing. Danny's got that limp, man. But I also had him in year 15, 16. He wasn't as quick then, so I could have probably did something.
Dan seems quiet. He's that quiet storm, Dan.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Juice.
Yeah.
Dan Marino on the mound, OJ McDuffie at the plate. What happens?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely. Me at the plate. See, I was switch hitter too. I was hitting from the left side, Yeah, I'm hitting single, maybe double in the gap. I got him. It depends on what kind of stuff he has, man. If he's only throwing fastballs, I'd light fastballs up. You better have some good junk, man. You better have some really good junk. And you better throw it early in the count because I'm teeing off on fastballs right away.
Yeah. Quickly, are you guys down for a few quick over-unders on the season? Let's start this. Tua Tagovailoa, 3,650 yards over or under this year passing.
He better go over. I think
he's only done once. He's only done it once. Done.
Well, yeah. Now I hear what you're saying. It depends on how many games he gets, George. You know what I mean? If he gets a full 17, he's going to go well over that. He's going to be in the 4,000s if he gets a full 17, easily.
Jason, are you over or under?
It better be over. I mean, shoot, it better be over because, again, if he's playing 14 games at his career average per game, he's going to hit it. If he plays 11 or 12, he'll fall probably a little south, but we can't have that. We need him to play those 15 games, and then he'll smash it.
I think he goes over that.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep it, a modest. You got to look at his career stats. He's only been over it once, but a lot has to do with injuries. Tua, over, under 28 touchdown passes this season.
Oh, I've got him over that. I've got him around 28, actually, so it's kind of a tough one for me right there. I see him around 28. I see Tua probably with 28 and 10, maybe 10 picks, which isn't a lot if you think about it. It's that's a decent season right there. But I think that when we talked about earlier having a run game, we're not going to count his arm as much as we would normally. But now where I get my yards at is because they're going to have to commit somebody to that box, and then we'll be able to get somebody down the field. So I got a utopian type of feel about this whole thing. Yeah. So if we can run the ball, Tua can get his yards, get his touchdowns, protect the rock, all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. When I was putting that together, I'm like, I think he's about 28. I'll go under because it's tough, and I think especially this offense is going to lean a little bit more to the run. Jason, over under 28 touchdowns.
It's a good number. I think he'll hit 29. I'm going to go with the 29. He might not be a 30 guy, but I'm going to go with 29 to cover the bases right there to stick with some baseball terminology.
We got to do some wide receiver over numbers real quick. Tyreek Hill, 1,300 yards, over or under?
Under.
Ooh, okay.
I agree.
I'm going to go under.
Like 2,000. We probably should have 2,000-yard receivers this year, but none of them going to go over 1,300.
So all under. So I'm going to go under too, Jason. You're under. Waddle, 1050, over or under?
He will go over 1,000 yards this year.
Jason?
I'm going to go with 1,100. I agree. And I think OJ's right. I think this is the kind of ascension of him to the 1A because he's the future 1A. And you know what? The time is now to start.
Yeah,
I mean, 17 games, George, man. 17 games. You should be able to get 1,000 yards in your sleep.
I'm looking at Jason show me the betting line. Tyreek at 975, Waddle at 875. I don't know if I'm just being a homer, but that seems like locks, man. 17 games. That seems. What about A-Chain? A-Chain, does he make 1,000 yards this year, over or under?
Rushing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. He'll have about 1,400 all-purpose though.
Yeah.
But I think rushing's gonna be tough.
So under 1,000.
You're going under 1,000 rush.
Sonny.
I like that, the fact that you put in the scrimmage yard. Let's go over 13.5 scrimmage yards, but it would be really tough for him to get 1,000 rushing yards, especially with Ollie Gordon probably taking a lot of those inside
sharing the load a little bit.
Yeah, and that's great. We got to preserve the health. As much as I love H-Chan, I'd rather him do his damage outside of the hash marks. And you know what? If we're going to say anything, the calf injury puts a little damper on this prediction, but I like him getting close to 100 receptions because when Tua was healthy, H-Chan averaged 6 catches a game. So if you maybe increase to 7, you do the math right there, he can contend to once again lead that league from running backs and receptions. He's got a chance at 90 plus.
Sorry. You wanted to get how many catches? You wanted to get 100. You know how pissed off the wide receivers are going to be if
that's true. I forgot who the.
You gotta stop talking. Us divas ain't going for that, man.
Hey, OJ, Tyreek might quit week 12.
This is true. Very good point. Point taken. Well, I'll tell you what, this was fun over-unders, and what I wanted to, we're talking touchdowns. We mentioned touchdowns. You know, your co-host of the Fishtank, Seth Levitt, did it. One of the best things, you guys do great stuff, whatever you do. But one of the greatest things that I've seen him produce was that Mark Clayton video why he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. It was perfection. What are your thoughts about Clayton as just a guy you know personally? You obviously, you know, kind of took that mantle pretty much from him, so to speak. But he needs to be in Canton, Juice.
Man, it's not even a question, Sonny. That piece that Seth did, and if anybody hasn't seen it, man, you have to check it out. You know, it is absolutely amazing. When you sit there and you break it down with all the guys that are in the Hall of Fame and all the different categories, Mark Clayton's at the upper echelon of all that, you know, of the upper. And I think we always feel that Marino is the reason that he's not in. But then Seth even addresses that part of it. You know, all these Hall of Fame quarterbacks got Hall of Fame receivers. So why does Dave Marino not have a Hall of Fame receiver? You know, Mark Clayton's just an awesome dude. The reason you don't hear a lot because he don't toot his own horn, bro. You know what I mean? He's not out there politicking. He's not doing all this stuff where he's like, yo, you know, crying about not being in the Hall of Fame. Mark Clayton is the epitome of what you call a Hall of Fame wide receiver. What he did back in the 80s and 90s when people weren't putting up numbers like that. You know, I mean, he's obviously a great friend of mine, but at the same time, man, the numbers don't lie. You look at me when you scored 18 touchdowns in one season back then when people weren't even, you know what I mean, weren't doing it like that. Come on, man. Sonny, you know, Mark's a great dude, man. And can I don't know if I can use the BS word, but they're bullshitting is what I'm about to say. Then they're bullshit.
Yeah, we had Mark on. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he is, man.
100%. And I think it will happen. You know, him being in that senior division, I think could not only help him, but I'll tell you, in a perfect world, and I know we like to throw out that word perfect here in this franchise, in an absolute perfect world, Mark Clayton gets inducted from a senior class perspective, and Richmond Webb gets inducted in the normal class same year. That will turn Canton aqua and orange. And speaking of some more aqua and orange, what is cooking on the Fishtank? You guys have been doing some work. Is there any previews you can get going, or what's coming up next?
Yeah, well, you know, we're doing our YouTube live as well now on Wednesday nights. So we'll be doing that again. We're going to talk a little bit like some of the stuff we talked about tonight. We're going to get into captains and how, you know, we can let loose a little bit really when we do the live set. We just had an incredible interview. We're not sure when we're going to post it with Ron Heller. You remember Ron Heller?
Yeah, his brother was my substitute gym teacher.
Mike Heller, yes,
you know,
he played with me at Penn State as well. So his brother Mike did, man. So, bro, it's like it was such a good interview, man. He's living in Montana now, man, and just talking to him, man, it was just incredible. So we're just going to continue to do stuff. Now that we're not with the Dolphins Network, we're able to do so many things that we really, really enjoy, man. And we're able to talk about the current team, former guys like Ron Heller, and keep it moving. So we're having a blast, bro. We're having a blast.
Can't wait for that one.
Yes. All right, so let's wrap it up here with record prediction time. We can do it both ways. You want to go over under 8.5 wins, or give me your final projection? What's your record for the Miami Dolphins, OJ?
I think we just do the over under, man.
All right. Whoa. We're off the Dolphins Network, but we ain't that far off yet.
I'm going over, man. I'm definitely going over. You know, I think that the schedule presents itself well for us to honestly, you know, like I said, our division isn't as tough as some other divisions. I think we should actually go, in my opinion, 5-1 in the division. We should win the first game against the Colts. I mean, that's 6 dubs right there for me, you know, and then we'll find a way to get the other ones, man. But I think I'm going over for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I got us 9. This is a tough team for me. If they won 11 games or if they won 7, I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't surprised.
It's just a weird, you know, it sounds like a cop-out, but it's just a weird feeling this year that I usually have a good idea, and this year I don't. But I kind of agree with you. I'd go over. Sonny, you want to throw your hat in there?
Yeah, you know, those 0.5s in the gambling line are important, so I will go over. And the fact that there's no mediocrity anymore with 17 games, we're going to barely have a winning record. So I think that kind of paints that number picture for me.
Got it.
Wow. Well, man, my first time meeting OJ, class act, man. I would love. I hope you enjoyed your time here on the Fifth.
Absolutely, man.
I hope we can do it again. Jason and I will be back recording a show on Wednesday. I got some family prior commitments, so we're recording and we'll drop it in the evening. we're debuting our 3 Wide show on Wednesdays. So we're 3 Wide on Wednesdays. Juice will appreciate that name. We're going 3 Wide. Jason will have a guest. We'll have Destin Adams, Colts beat writer, to preview the Colts Dolphins game. It's finally a game week. So, OJ, thank you so much, man. All the success on the fish tank and everything you got going on. Let's do it again sometime. Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Count me in, fellas. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, Juice. Thank you so much.
So for OJ, for Jason, for myself, fins up. Let's make 25 a great football season for the Dolphins. We'll see you next time.
Damn right.